Walk into any high-end garden center today, and you'll find cement pieces selling for $40, $60, sometimes over $100 each. Smooth spheres on gravel beds. Aged stone troughs planted with alpines. Textured wall pockets with cascading succulents. Mosaic stepping stones laid through manicured lawns. Here is what those price tags do not tell you. Every single one of those pieces was made with the same bag of cement available at your local hardware store for under $5. The same material, the same chemistry. The difference is not the ingredient. It is knowing what to do with it. Today, I'm giving you that knowledge. 17 cement garden decoration projects that produce results indistinguishable from pieces selling at 3 and 4 times the cost. Everyone tested. Everyone explained with a specific technique that separates a professional-looking result from a homemade one. Stay to the very end. The final project requires the least skill of everything here and produces a result so distinctive that nobody who sees it in your garden will believe you made it yourself. Let's go. Welcome back to Daily Garden Fix, where professional results come from understanding materials rather than spending more money on them. Drop a comment right now and tell me whether you have worked with cement before. Complete beginner? Tried it once and had a crack? Tell me where you were starting from. I read every comment and replied to everyone. And if you have had a cement project fail, tell me exactly what happened. 90% of failures come from 3 specific mistakes I'm going to help you avoid before the first project begins. Before any project, the material fundamentals. Because the right mix is the foundation everything else is built on. 3 mixes. The professional finishing step most tutorials skip. Immediately after demolding, scrub every outer surface firmly with a stiff wire brush. This removes the smooth cement skin and exposes the fibrous, porous hypertufa texture beneath. That texture ages rapidly. Moss colonizes within 1 season, lichen within 2. After 3 seasons, it is genuinely indistinguishable from Victorian stonework. Antique stone trough sell for $200 to $500. This one costs $4. Budget, $4. Project 2, Botanical Leaf Stepping Stones. Project 2, the stepping stone that uses the garden's own plants as molds and produces a path surface that reads as botanical sculpture. Select leaves with deeply defined vein architecture, rhubarb, hosta, gunnera, or large fascia. The relief of the vein pattern in the finished stone is directly proportional to how pronounced the veins are in the original leaf. Press the leaf flat into a bed of damp sand, vein side facing upward. Spread structural cement onto the vein surface from center outward to 1.5 inches depth. Press galvanized wire mesh into the top of the pour for reinforcement. Apply 1 final half-inch layer over the mesh. Cure 48 hours. Peel the leaf away. The professional finishing technique. Apply a diluted wash of exterior concrete stain in warm sandstone or forest green. Wipe back from the raised vein lines, leaving color in the recesses. The wash deepens the relief and makes the botanical pattern red with genuine clarity. Budget, under $5 per stone. Project 3, the fabric drape planter. Project 3, the technique that produces the single most distinctive surface quality on this list, and the piece most frequently mistaken for professional ceramics. Mix Portland cement with water to a thick slurry. No sand, no aggregate. Submerge a piece of open weave burlap or hessian in the slurry for 5 full minutes until completely saturated. Lift the fabric. Hold for 30 seconds to allow excess slurry to drip back. Drape it over a prepared mold, an upturned ceramic bowl, or a formed pile of damp sand. Arrange the folds deliberately. The folds you create now become the permanent form of the finished planter. You have 15 to 20 minutes before the cement begins to stiffen. Leave undisturbed for 48 hours under damp cover. Remove from the mold. The complete texture of the fabric weave is pressed permanently into every surface. The organic folds of a drape are held exactly as arranged. No rigid mold produces this surface quality. No manufactured piece replicates this form, because it was shaped by hand and preserved by chemistry. Plant with a single trailing succulent or compact alpine where the texture and drape can be fully appreciated. Budget, under $5. Project 4. Cement sphere ornaments. Project 4. The garden ornament that reads as professionally cast, made from an inflated balloon. Inflate a round balloon to the required diameter. Mix decorative cement slightly firmer than usual. Apply to the outside of the balloon in sections of 1/4 of the surface at a time. Build each section to 3/4 of an inch thickness. Allow each section to firm for 20 minutes before applying the next. This prevents cumulative weight from pulling earlier sections off the curved surface. Cure 24 hours. Pierce the balloon. It separates cleanly from the interior cement surface. The professional finishing technique. Apply exterior concrete paint in aged pewter using a dry brush method. Load a stiff brush with minimal paint. Remove most of it on a cloth. Drag the near-dry brush lightly across the surface. Color catches only on the high points. Recesses stay darker. The result reads as cast metal rather than painted concrete. 3 graduated spheres grouped in a gravel bed read as considered sculptural garden art. Budget, under $3 per sphere. Project 5. Mosaic inlay stepping stones. Project 5. The stepping stone that combines structural cement with the craftsmanship language of traditional mosaic. Build a circular timber form on a flat plastic sheet. Pour structural cement to 1.5 inches. Allow to firm for 20 to 25 minutes. Plan the mosaic pattern on paper before touching a single tile. A radial design from the center is the most forgiving for a beginner and the most visually resolved. Press mosaic tiles or broken ceramic fragments into the firming surface according to the plan design. Press each piece to precisely half its depth, not flush, which buries the stone visually, not proud, which is unstable. Half-depth locks each piece permanently while keeping its color and texture fully visible. Cure 72 hours. Grout with unsanded tile grout. Wipe tile faces clean before the grout sets. Seal with exterior tile sealant. Laid at the entrance to a seating area, this piece reads as the work of someone who considered the making of it seriously. Budget, $5 to $10 per stone. 5 projects complete. 12 more ahead. Coming up, the glass bottle wall that embeds light into a garden structure in a way no purchased feature replicates. And the final project, the technique that requires zero mold-making skill and produces the most individual result of everything on this list. Stay with me. Project 6, Aggregate Exposure Raised Bed. Project 6, the raised bed border that reads as natural dry stone construction through a single finishing technique. Build a timber form to the raised bed dimensions. Mix structural cement with decorative aggregate, river pebbles or crushed granite, distributed evenly through the mix. Pour to 4 inches wide and 10 inches high. Embed steel mesh at mid-height. Tap the form firmly throughout the pour to consolidate the mix and bring aggregate toward the outer faces. Cure 72 hours. Remove the form. The finishing step. Within the first 5 days of demolding, while the cement is still in its green state, scrub every outer face firmly with a wire brush. The brush removes the thin cement paste skin and exposes the aggregate beneath. The revealed aggregate surface reads as natural stone, particularly after outdoor weathering develops the gray patina of aged mortar between the stones. Budget, under $15 per raised bed. Project 7, the fabric texture pot upgrade. Project 7, the transformation that takes any plain terracotta or plastic pot and gives it the surface quality of a hand-cast vessel. Mix cement to a thick paint-like slurry. Apply to the exterior of the pot with a stiff brush in rough, overlapping strokes. Do not smooth it. The brush texture is the decoration. Apply 2 coats, allowing the first to firm for 20 minutes before the second. While the second coat is still firm but not fully set, press a crumpled piece of fabric against the surface and drag it away. The fabric leaves an impression of fine textile texture across the cement skin. Or drag a wire brush across the surface for linear marks. Or press a natural sponge against it for a stone-like pitting. Apply a dry brush coat of a slightly lighter tone over the cured surface, catching only the high points of the texture, leaving the recesses dark. The result reads as dimensional aged stone. Budget, under $1 per pot. Project 8, Pebble Inlay Path Stones. Project 8. The path feature that uses natural river pebbles as inlay and reeds as traditional craftsmanship. Build a form. Pour structural cement to 1.5 inches. Allow to firm for 20 minutes. Arrange river pebbles in a deliberate pattern, radiating from the center or a naturalistic scatter of sizes working outward from a large central stone. The professional detail. Press each pebble to precisely half its depth. Not flush with the surface, which buries the stone visually. Not sitting on top, which is unstable. Half depth. The upper hemisphere fully visible in color and texture. The lower hemisphere locked permanently in place. Cure 72 hours. Seal with exterior paving sealant to deepen pebble color and strengthen the mechanical bond. Budget, under $5 per stone. Project 9. The Glass Bottle Light Wall. Project 9. The garden structure that captures and redistributes sunlight in a way no purchased feature replicates. Collect glass bottles of consistent height. Wine bottles in green and clear glass produce the richest light variation. Mix structural cement to affirm mortar consistency. Lay the first course, mortar bed, bottles horizontal with bases facing outward, each bottle bedded to half its diameter. Second course of mortar over the first. Second course of bottles offset from the first by half a bottle length. The same bonding principle as brickwork. Allow each course to firm for 40 minutes before laying the next. When sunlight strikes from the garden-facing side, it passes through the bottle bases and projects circles of colored light onto the ground and surrounding surfaces. Green glass casts warm, forest-colored pools. Clear glass scatters brilliant white. The light pattern tracks with the sun through the day, a dynamic display produced entirely by the physics of the structure. Budget, under $10 for cement. Bottles free. Project 10. Cement dip-dyed pebbles. Project 10. The quickest project on this list. Achievable in an afternoon with no mold making. Mix cement to a thin slurry. Add exterior acrylic paint in a single carefully chosen color. Warm white, pale sage, or matte charcoal. Hold each pebble at one end. Dip the other half into the tinted slurry to the exact midpoint in one slow, deliberate movement. Withdraw at the same speed. Set to cure for 24 hours without touching the coated surface. The precision of the dip line, horizontal, clean, sitting exactly at the midpoint, is the detail that determines whether the collection reads as designed or accidental. A curated arrangement of 20 dip-dyed pebbles in a wide, shallow dish reads as an object from a serious garden boutique. Each one cost under 50 cents to make. Budget, under 50 cents per pebble. Project 11. Hypertufa Wall Pocket Planters. Project 11. The wall-mounted planting feature that gives any blank fence the character of a designed installation. Mix hypertufa to a firm, almost dry consistency. Line a small plastic container with petroleum jelly. Press the hypertufa firmly into the mold, leaving a planting cavity 2 inches deep in the center. Push a pencil through the base to create drainage. Cure 48 hours. Demold. Wire brush the exterior surfaces. Fix to the fence through a pilot hole in the back of the piece using an exterior screw and wall plug. The installation detail that determines the quality of a multiple pocket display. Fix each pocket at a slightly different angle rather than all perfectly vertical. A 5 to 10 degree variation between pieces reads as the natural variation of handmade objects. All perfectly vertical reads as mass-produced. Budget, under $2 each. Project 12. Carved cement garden plaques. Project 12. The wall decoration that reads as commissioned studio ceramics. Pour decorative cement into a flat rectangular mold to 1 inch depth. Allow to firm for 45 minutes until the surface holds a carved line cleanly but remains workable. Plan the design fully before touching the surface. A botanical illustration, a house name, a meaningful word, a geometric pattern. Work with confident, continuous strokes using a pointed tool. Hesitant lines read as uncertain in the finished piece. Confident lines read as designed. Cure 48 hours. Demold. Apply a diluted dark wash over the entire carved surface. Wipe back with a damp cloth while still wet. Dark wash remains in the recesses. Lighter cement shows on a raised surface. The carved design appears with graphic clarity. Fixed to a fence or wall with exterior mirror adhesive. Budget, under $3 per plaque. Project 13, the cement birdbath. Project 13, the garden focal point that combines genuine wildlife function with enduring visual presence. Line a wide, shallow bowl mold with petroleum jelly. Mix structural cement. Pour 1.5 inches into the base. Press a cylindrical pedestal mold, a large tin can, centrally into the wet pour. The basin and pedestal cure as one integrated structural piece. Cure 72 hours. Demold. Clean rough edges with a wire brush. The finishing step, apply a diluted concrete stain wash in warm gray. Apply a second lighter dry brush coat over the first, catching only the high points of the surface texture. The result reads as cast-aged stone rather than poured concrete. Fill with clean water. Refresh every 2 to 3 days. Clean, fresh water attracts more birds than any decorative quality of the bath itself. Budget, under $10. Project 14, the cement garden table. Project 14, the outdoor furniture piece that costs under $25 and reads as a material choice rather than a budget decision. Build a rectangular or circular timber mold. Line with smooth plastic. Mix structural cement with fine aggregate. Pour to 2.5 inches. Apply decorative inlay while the surface is still wet. River pebbles in a radiating arrangement. Broken ceramic tile in a mosaic pattern, or a large hosta leaf pressed into the center for a botanical impression. Embed 2 galvanized bolts in the underside at the base fixing positions. Cure 72 hours. Apply 2 coats of penetrating outdoor concrete sealer. Not a surface sealant that peels, but a penetrating formula that bonds chemically with the cement matrix and protects from within. Fixed to salvaged timber, metal hairpin legs, or 2 painted concrete blocks. Budget, under $25 for the top. Project 15, cement candle lanterns. Project 15, the outdoor lighting feature that costs under $2 per piece and projects a warm pattern light that no commercial lantern replicates. Apply decorative cement to the lower 2/3 of an inflated balloon to 3/4 inch thickness. While still soft at 40 minutes, press the base gently onto a flat surface to create a stable level base on the finished lantern. Cure 48 hours. Pierce the balloon. Punch a deliberate pattern of holes through the cured walls using a masonry nail, a geometric grid, a radiating pattern, graduated dot sizes. The pattern becomes the light projection when the lantern is lit. Apply matte black exterior paint. The black absorbs ambient light and makes the projected pattern appear brighter by contrast. Drop a battery LED tea light inside. At night, a constellation of warm light dots projected onto the surrounding ground and surfaces. Each one cost under $2 to make. Budget, under $2 per lantern. Project 16, the concrete block Modernist planter. Project 16, the planter that demonstrates the most important principle in this video. Finish determines perception far more than material. Standard concrete building blocks are the most utilitarian material available. Unpainted and assembled without intention, they read as construction debris. Finished with precision and assembled with compositional thought, they read as a designed landscape feature. Apply 2 full coats of exterior masonry paint in a single considered color to every visible face before assembly. Deep charcoal is the most architectural. Warm white is the most versatile. 2 coats is not optional. 1 coat produces uneven coverage that reads as rushed. Stack 2 courses offset at every corner. No mortar needed. The filled planter holds everything in position. Choose the plant for the container rather than the container for the plant. The clean geometry of painted concrete suits architectural planting. Tall grasses, structural evergreens, bold perennials. Cottage planting creates a visual contradiction the eye senses but cannot resolve. Budget, $15 to $20 for blocks. Paint additional. Project 17, the sand cast garden sculpture. Project 17, the last one. The technique that requires the least skill and produces the most individual result of everything on this list. Fill a deep tray or a prepared section of damp garden soil with builder's sand. Dampen it until it packs cleanly, firm enough to hold precise detail, moist enough to release air as the cement enters. This moisture balance is critical. Too dry and the cavity walls collapse. Too wet and the impression closes over. Form the cavity. This is the creative decision of the entire project. A large hand pressed flat to 3 inches creates a hand relief sculpture. A cluster of river stones pressed in a deliberate arrangement creates an abstract relief panel. A face modeled carefully in the sand creates a garden wall ornament. A piece of deeply grained driftwood pressed in and removed leaves a perfect texture impression. A deeply veined leaf pressed firm into the sand retains every surface detail and creates a botanical panel larger and more detailed than any stepped stone project. Mix structural cement to adjust pourable consistency, fluid enough to flow into every detail without being worked. Pours steadily and continuously into the cavity to the level of the surrounding sand. Do not disturb the container for 72 full hours. Lift the cured casting. Brush the loose sand from the surface. Some remains permanently embedded in the outer face of the casting. This is not a flaw. It is the defining surface quality of sand casting. The combination of fine sand aggregate, the precise impression of whatever was pressed, and the natural irregularities of the cavity walls creates a surface that no mold, no tool, and no other technique produces. Mount on a post as a garden focal point. Fix it to a fence as a wall relief. Set it into a planted border as a found object surprise. Every sand cast is entirely itself, not a copy of something purchased, not a version of something seen elsewhere. Something made by you from whatever was at hand on a free afternoon that could not exist anywhere else in exactly this form. That quality, irreducible individuality, is the quality that no garden center tag can ever price accurately. Budget, under $5. The most distinctive result per dollar on this entire list. 17 cement garden decoration projects. Every one of them professional in result, achievable in a weekend, and honest about what it costs to make. The hypertufa trough. Botanical leaf stepping stones. The fabric drape planter. Cement sphere ornaments. Mosaic inlay stepping stones. The aggregate exposure raised bed. The fabric texture pot upgrade. Pebble inlay path stones. The glass bottle light wall. Cement dip-dyed pebbles. Hypertufa wall pocket planters. Carved cement plaques. The cement birdbath. The cement garden table. Cement candle lanterns. The concrete block Modernist planter. And the sand cast garden sculpture that costs under $5 and produces something that exists nowhere else in exactly its form. Here is what I want from you right now. In the comments below, tell me which project you are making first and what you're going to use it for in your garden. Not which one you found most interesting. Which one you are actually making this weekend. I will read every comment. I will reply to everyone with the single most important technique detail for your specific chosen project. The one thing that determines whether the finished result looks professional or homemade. Share this with one person who has always assumed cement was only for builders. Every project on this list is proof that it is not. Next week on Daily Garden Fix, 15 garden features using reclaimed and salvage materials. Every one sourced free or for almost nothing. Every one producing a result that reads as a considered design decision rather than a budget limitation. Subscribe. Hit the bell. I will see you there. Make something this weekend. Cure it properly. Make it permanent.